Thanks, Steve. You're the man. So I appreciate you. Thanks for the invitation. So thank you to the Rotary Club of Detroit for having me to come and talk about what it is that I actually do. I'm trying to see who I focus on. I'm looking over here. I'm looking here. I'm looking there. I'm all over the place. But this is cool. So thanks for inviting me to come and talk about what I do. But before I tell you what I do, I need to tell you who I am. I'm an inspirer, I'm a unifier, I'm a motivator, I'm an inspirational speaker, I'm a bridge builder, a business owner, and most importantly, I'm a husband and a father of, as Stephen said, six kids, six children. Children ranging from ages of 28, 26, 23, 16, 2.5 and 10 months. Who does that? So I'm so happy to be here right now. I just want you all to know I really appreciate it. I know I'm supposed to get 20 minutes, but I'm talking for 2 hours because I'm just happy to be out the house. So with that being said, it's a little different parenting at 51 than it was parenting in my 20s with the younger kids. So I'm just glad to be here. Glad to be here. I'm no rush to get home, like I said. But what I want to do is kind of give you a glimpse of what it is that I do. We kind of got a twofold thing going on. For those of you who are watching online, you guys are here. Those of you watching online, if you could grab a pen and a piece of paper. I'm going to make you work a little bit in a few minutes, but grab a pen and a piece of paper. Everybody at the table, I passed out pens and pieces of paper. You'll get to those in a second. We're going to kind of do a twofold thing. About 3 months ago, I took a huge leap of faith and I left my job of 19 years. I worked in law enforcement for 28 years and worked in one capacity for 19 years in training and overseeing police training in the state of Michigan. But I left, I was too young to retire when I left. So I couldn't collect any pension. We didn't have a pension or anything like that. So I did that and I now I'm committed to full-time inspirational speaking and running my company, Pratt International LLC, which is a human resource management company, which is how Steve and I connected and met. And my company focuses on unconscious and implicit bias, which we'll talk about here in a second. But today I want to give you another aspect, which is what I love doing more, which is inspiring people. So in leaving my company, or before I left my job, I factored in a couple things. I factored in my finances. I factored in my overhead costs. I factored in my savings if I needed to do it because I left this job of 19 years. But the one thing I didn't factor in is being at home with 2 small kids, an infant and a toddler. It's a whole different thing I didn't think about. But with that being said, this leads me to kind of what I want to talk about today, which are what I call the 4 P's. Plan, a place, a position, and a purpose. A plan, a place, position, and a purpose. So I often say this, that your story is your glory, meaning that whatever your experiences are in life, good, bad, ugly, or awesome, those things shape who we're designed to become. And so with that being said, our story is often our glory. So I kind of want to talk about some of that. When I talk about what a plan is, when we think about a plan, you have to first think about a plan. It's a thought, meaning that a plan is cerebral. When you think about that plan, later on that plan or that thought becomes an action, which then it becomes a physical thing, which takes you to a place. So think about it. You got a plan, which is a thought. Then you got a place, which is a physical thing. That place then puts you in a position, which oftentimes positions are mental. So if you think about it, plan cerebral, a place is an actual physical thing, and then a position typically is mental. That position ultimately establishes our purpose, which is spiritual. So, like most of you, when you think about this, I had plans for my life. I plan to never get divorced. I plan to be financially stable. I plan to raise all of my children in a 2-parent household. But my plans didn't come to fruition. My plans didn't pan out. I never intended to go to the place where I was, but that's the place where I ended up. I ultimately ended up in a place where I got divorced. I ultimately ended up in a place where my car was repossessed. I ended up in a place where I had to file for bankruptcy. I ended up in a place where I moved 8 times in 9 years. I ended up in a place where, not by choice of my own, To my older children, I became what I call a part-time parent, being relegated to one night a week and every other weekend because of a court decision. But that place put me in a position. It put me in a position where I had to stay in a job that wasn't necessarily very fulfilling. It put me in a position where I had to get an additional job to make ends meet. Now, you may say that plan, that place and that position wasn't very good. I agree, it sucked. It did at the time, it did. It was messed up. And at the time I was going through it, I really felt it was messed up. But what I learned about these 4 P's is that plans are fluid and fickle. Plans always have to change to adjust to situations. Places are locations or often just destinations or stops along the way. And a position is nothing more than something that's temporary. But we get locked into those mental positions and we think they have a stronghold on us and we're stuck, but they're temporary. If you think about it like this, the human body is not designed to stay in one place for all times, or one position, I should say. The human body has to move at some point. There has to be a shift. If there's no shift, that body will break down. So when you think about that position, that mentality, think about how you can always get out of it if you move. So the plans, the place, and the position, most of which, honestly, I put myself in because of poor decisions, all help me to better know and understand my purpose, which is probably why I'm standing here today doing what I love to do. The reason I say purpose is spiritual is because purpose brings you to a place of peace. To not only know what you're supposed to be doing in life, but to be doing it is purpose. Most people stumble literally through life, never realizing or recognizing that their lives have purpose and meaning. But purpose is not as much for the person who goes through, but it's for others to know that they can get through. So I always say, vulnerability creates visibility for others to see their own capabilities. I'm vulnerable enough to stand before you and tell you about some of my shortcomings and some of my flaws because somebody needs to know and understand that they can look at me and they can make it, because I have. My plans have certainly changed. I plan to never get married again. Now I have a beautiful wife. I plan to not have no more kids, especially at 51. And now I have 2 handsome little boys. My place is different. For the last 3 years, I haven't bounced from place to place because I'm now financially in a position where I own my home. And my position has shifted. I don't work for anybody else to make ends meet. I work for myself, and I'm a blessing to others. At the same time, I provide for my family. So my purpose is clear and being fulfilled. This is why I can stand in front of you and share my life experiences, my personal challenges, my shortcomings, my downfalls, so that somebody watching, listening, looking can know that they can make it through. Thanks for listening. Appreciate you guys.